Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Sabrina the Psychic Medium here. If you are returning, thank you for returning. I have over 504 subscribers now. That's wonderful because I'm stepping into my real life mission, in the sense that not only have I become an expert in dialectical behavioral therapy and learning how to reprogram your thoughts, change thought habits into better, more positive thought habits, but also understanding that there are psychic energies we need to be aware of and psychic shieldings that we need to do. So if you are new here, welcome. I am a shamanic witch, primarily a psychic medium, okay? I'm on the Celtic path in the Druidic tradition. Some people say I'm a Druidess. A Druidess is an oracle and a seer and a magical practitioner. I like to say that I am primarily a medium, and as such, all my clairs have opened. This is one of the most important videos I think that I have made in expanding on my mission, from taking the idea of psychic energy and using it for yourself to transform yourself, but also to protect yourself. And I've been talking about this a little bit. It's only been now over the past 11 months that I've come to realize what has been happening to me over the past 11 months. In that vein, I want to talk about telepathy. All right? Telepathy, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What I've come to learn is that there's different ways for people to become telepaths, and there's quite a lot of telepaths in the world. It is not something that is exclusive or rare to the individual who has really worked on themselves and developed into a medium or a telepath. It can also happen, what I've come to realize, there's another way that it can happen. Telepaths are made. They're either created through trauma, when someone is a child or a teenager, but it happens when they're young. They disconnect from reality and they live primarily in their heads. This is the spiritual world. And we can be influenced during the day, but we can also be influenced at night. Now, the way that it happened to me was that I had worked overtime, not every day, not every year, not every month, but in the beginning when I was younger, I was taught meditation at the age of 12. Then at the age of 19, I went into Silva mind control, and I continued to study and learn about how the mind works and learn about affirmations, how to write them, how to use them, listen to guided meditations, guided visualization tapes, and subliminal tapes. And so later, as I was having trouble in my marriage, I returned to meditation and I learned that all these things put together are self-hypnosis. And I was able to bring myself out of a depression. I also was attending counseling at the time. And so I had gone from being more of a sort of codependent, empathetic person to realizing that this was a false sense of feeling like you are a valuable person. And that by realizing my self-esteem was getting stronger, focusing on affirmations for self-esteem and self-confidence, and listening to the guided meditations, that I began to have another evolution in my mental spiritual growth. And that was where I had a gigantic somatic release, and I felt energy flowing through me, and I felt very, very calm and self-confident and secure and peaceful. I also began to realize that I had gone from being empathetic to being a telepath. Now, as I began to learn and study more about earth-based spirituality and step on the goddess-based path, primarily because of the dream I had, I began to realize that I was being led to use my telepathy in positive ways. So I assumed that you had to become this higher level in order to become a telepath, but it's simply not true. Now, I joined a pagan witches group after about 3 or 4 years, I think, of being on the path. I met someone, they invited me. Someone in the group was very troubled. I didn't know at the time. This person was a codependent, insecure type of a person who was struggling with daddy issues and changing his religion. He was a pastor's son. So he was struggling with becoming what he wanted to become because of peer pressure, the family groupthink, and had gotten together with someone who thought he was going to become a pastor, and that wasn't happening. So we had started communicating, and he felt a rapport with me. I was married. I was not yet divorced. And what happened was he had developed a connection with me psychically that I wasn't aware of at the time, where I found myself in sleep doing something that he was obviously desiring. Now, it wasn't, a full sexual act, but it was definitely something that he was desiring, that he had somehow influenced me to do in sleep. Now, I was not happy in my marriage, but I certainly did not have any strong physical attraction to this young man. Now, what happened after that was I began to hold my stones, my crystals, my tektite, and I began to learn I had a connection to some off-earth guides, off-earth energy guides, and I began to ask who they were. And by holding this tektite at night, I had a higher frequency in my mind, and I was able to telepathically go to this person in sleep and sort of superimpose a template of my perspective and my idea of what this person was struggling with and help them understand what they were reading. They were having trouble expressing themselves and the idea of what they thought was okay and what they were practicing spiritually. It was very old, but modern religion doesn't encourage people to have their own sacred space or call on spirits, and burn incense and all that. There was another time where I was led to go to him again in sleep with telepathy and see what was going on when he went to this place, and I didn't like it. It was religious. And when he got to the meeting, he stated that for the first time ever, when he went into this event, this place, he didn't like it. So I was being led to superimpose my own thoughts and feelings as a pagan, spiritual, goddess-based practitioner who had been washed away from these religious constraints that don't do anything except really keep you blind and in bondage. What happened after that was really not much. This person continued to live their life as a very codependent, non-ambitious person, and in fact ended up having more problems. They had a divorce, and then they ended up having to pay child support for a child. And I think about 10 years later when I saw them, they didn't really look that much different. I'd heard that they really were not advancing in their career. They were doing as little as possible and living with some older woman. And so bringing someone to self-awareness might help a little tiny bit, but it's really up to that person to change their life and have a sense of regard for their future. But a lot of times there's people that just don't have a desire for a career, and they don't have a career path. They don't really want much. These, unfortunately, are people that try to influence others to do things for them. And this is where telepathy comes in for people that have suffered a trauma or are using their telepathic ability to influence other people to do something that they want. Now, that person was not telepathic, but they were obviously able to use tools at a sacred space and focus on my image and go to me and sleep. What's happened in the past 11 months with me has been much, much stronger. And it could be because I've advanced in my own life and self as a psychic person. And I've worked with more spirits over time. But I had been influenced to a point where I felt it was beyond what I would normally think or do in a waking state. And this is when I slowly came to realize that I had come in contact with someone who was a telepath, and they were misusing it. So most people know about the movie X-Men, all right? In the movies X-Men, you have people with superpowers that are either villainous, and they're using villainous powers for selfish needs, and they don't have any regard for the humans. They don't have any empathy. They don't see them as, they don't have compassion for them. In fact, they have disdain for them. And this is one of the personality traits of someone who has disconnected from reality. If they are able to start influencing people to do things that they want, they start to have a grandiose sense of self, and people are just, satisfying their needs. They don't realize that they're preying upon the weak-minded. And until they meet someone who knows how to psychically shield or has become strong-willed and has a strong sense of self-esteem, then they will meet their match. But whether or not they decide that they want to continue encountering someone like that, to have them actually teach them how to use their abilities for a better purpose or not, just remains to be seen. So I've had to learn how to purge and how to shield, and especially when I am asleep. Now, I made a video called Dream Sorcery, which you should probably go and watch. And there's where I began to realize that I did not need to do any more examining of my childhood than I had already done over the years. I had become a person who has pretty much achieved, self-mastery to a pretty high degree. And not being influenced by someone proves that I have achieved self-awareness and a level of self-mastery. But if you do not understand that your dream state is your spiritual life and your spiritual side, and that telepaths are spiritual and they live in their head most of the time, In the movie X-Men, there is Professor X, who is a telepath, and he is a teacher, and he is a guide, and he is a mentor, and he helps other people use the abilities that they have developed, which is usually as a result of trauma. Let's face it, okay? This type of a mutation happens as a result of trauma, and whether or not you use it for good or for selfish purposes, it's up to you. And until I think people actually see their lives fall apart over and over again and hit rock bottom, right? Like a drug addict or an alcoholic, they are not going to see that cheaters never prosper and they're not able to manage their life. They don't have a sense of responsibility for themselves and for their life. Now, Professor X meets Eric, who is also a telepath, but he is also a projector of telepathy, like Prue in the television show Charmed. This is my first video on this subject, so be patient with me because I didn't sit down and write a bunch of notes. Eventually, in the movie, they become concerned with identification. Unfortunately, there is no way for us to have identification. There is a YouTuber by the name of JT who says he was involved, well, he was involved with a young woman who was a narcissist, and he learned about telepathy. In this way, he was very influenced by her telepathically, even after they broke up. And she had been able to manipulate him and influence him, and he spent a lot of money and gave her a lot of money, and so he's had to learn a very painful lesson, but he learned about these types of telepaths and how they use it for their own selfish purposes. Now, they have to go from person to person to person. They never really do have a relationship. They don't have an ability to really be intimate or close to anyone. They're simply using them for survival. And they're using whatever looks or charm that they have in order to get people that are lonely and insecure. So eventually Eric, of course, goes off and decides that he wants to form his own group and be protected from identification, that the humans become the enemy because they are seeking identification, and what JT said was that his girlfriend had admitted one day that if people knew who I really am and what I can do, they would burn me at the stake. Now, she claimed to be a witch, but witch is not a bad thing, okay? If you look it up, the word witch-a means healer. What people do with the word witch is up to them. What we do with our thoughts and our energy is up to that person. Energy is only energy, and how you use it is up to you. Now, the man who turned Eric Linser into the psychic that he became as a result of his childhood trauma had a group of people that had superpowers that worked for him, and one of them was Emma Frost. I don't know why I haven't thought of this before, but she has a wonderful ability to shield herself from other people's thoughts by creating mirror shards all over her body. And if you practice your visualization, you can imagine that for yourself. Just imagine mirror shards in front of your face and your head, and your entire body for that matter, when you go to bed at night. Mirror work is wonderful for protection. There's ways to set that up around your home. I've actually looked in my rearview mirror on my car one day at a man who was behind me and was angry because he didn't think I was turning fast enough when the light turned green. And he jumped out of his truck and came towards me, and I looked in that mirror and gave him a dirty look, and he turned around and he went the other way. It was tax time, folks, and everybody was on edge. So, you know, you can wear a reflective necklace, like I have this silver back here on the back of my moonstone. There's other ways that you can use things to protect yourself with a fiery wall of protection when you go out during the day. You can anoint yourself with some anointing oil for protection. And you can put things around your home. I have oils that I have made, and I think I'm going to reopen my apothecary shop because I have made quite a few bottles of fiery wall of protection. Okay, and you can take that and you can put it on the inside hem of your clothing. And even on the ends of your hair. Your hair is like antennas. The Native Americans have long hair because they believe it is like an antenna. But some cultures actually braid their hair so that they don't receive the psychic energies from other people. And it is a good habit to get home and unplug and turn off the lights and then take a shower and purge yourself with white light and cleansing herbal ingredients, and then psychically shield yourself when you go to bed at night. Now you can hold a quartz crystal, a clear quartz crystal. You can program it to protect you while you are sleeping and dreaming. And before you go to sleep, put it under your pillow. Hold it in your hand for a little while and then put it under your pillow. I have been led to use my Tektite because that is a very high frequency and it's very good for protecting me. But I have found that if I let it go and don't put it under my pillow, that I am affected by the telepath who will enter my sleep state, my dream state, and say something to me. So this is something I am still dealing with. But now I was married to a narcissist. I'm 99% sure. There are some things that I've heard about narcissism that I don't think are true. Sometimes too much information is a bad thing. A psychologist recently said that they're all gay, and that was just not the case. So anyway, he remade the video and kind of tried to change and clarify what he was stating. But you know, we can all exhibit certain types of traits, such as OCD or starting to get stuck, you know, or having some anxiety, or I'm trying to think of what else. Because it permeates our society. But I'm talking about people that have a full-blown condition. They're usually on the spectrum. I think they've got either ADD, ADHD, but a lot of times I think with telepathy, they probably also have what's called FPP. This is a fantasy-prone personality, and I do believe that people such as the one I've encountered, who I believe has a chemical dependency, is a full-time fantasizer. They do not live in the real world. They do not connect to reality because of what has happened to them when they were a child. And they have to examine their thoughts and their feelings and start to begin to work through that eventually. In the meantime, there are those of us who need to be aware that there are a lot of telepaths who are using it for selfish purposes, to manipulate people around them, to get things that they want. And they're able to influence people who are weak-minded. But if you can learn some basic techniques on cleansing and purging and then psychically shielding. And I myself had put like a black circle around me one night with silver under that. Now the black was to absorb negativity and the silver was to reflect any that got in. You know, a psychic medium I was following for a little while, which I'm not following anymore, had mentioned that she saw this and she thought it was really negative. And if she was picking up on what I was doing, she doesn't know what I was doing. The intent behind what I was doing was to use the black circle to absorb negativity. And then the silver underneath it was to reflect any other negativity that might come in. And you can do that while you're sleeping or while you're out. You can actually leave a little space within that aura that you have made for anything to come in that you claim. This what comes in through this little space that I'm creating is information that is necessary and helpful to me. In that way, you are making a declaration and you're setting your intent. This is magic work, this is spell work, you can call it sorcery, I guess. But it's intention. Everything is intention. And this is another reason why I say listening to psychic tarot readers can really throw you off, because if they don't know what you're doing and they see that, they don't know what it is, they don't know what your intent is. They can also pick up on the thoughts and feelings of someone that you've encountered that is throwing you for a loop and misunderstand and misinterpret what's actually going to happen, because just because somebody thinks and feels a certain way doesn't mean they're going to act on it. That is the key. And a lot of times there's possibilities. There's possible outcomes. And whatever is destined is, going to be destined. But when you have developed into a psychic, you are going to attract people and you're going to be attracted to places that are going to need clearing. And for me, this has been a very big part of my journey in life. And one of my biggest missions is to make people aware that if you're going through a period of stress and your guard is down, I was sitting outside on my patio a lot of the time, completely open and relaxed. And my aura was just spread out, at least 12 feet. And this person was picking up on it. And so unfortunately, they were picking up on me and I was picking up on them. They were benefiting from my energy in a very big way. And I think it was a very big surprise to that person, because they began to actually, I think, have more energy. Once I cut myself off, that person just wasn't working as many days or as many hours. And they began to, I think, to me, they looked like they were kind of going through something. And at one point I was told that being away from here for 3 days and tapping into other people made them sick. So you can actually help people raise their frequency, at least temporarily, when they are around you. But you need to be careful, all right? Your energy is precious. Your time is precious. And if you're going to be outside relaxing and somebody's decided that they like to hang out around you while you're out there, you need to have some type of like a mirrored ball on a pedestal or on your table, or a pretty little mirrored necklace around your on your chest, around your person. Or I mean, I even have a little reflective bracelet here, but it wasn't enough. You're going to have to use your mind to put up a psychic shield, all right? And it really needs to look like a mirror. Think of Emma Frost, because I think that's a wonderful image to use. I hope this is understandable, and I hope that you are getting the message that I'm trying to deliver, because I am going to be talking much more about psychic protection, psychic cleansing, psychic clearing, and understanding your dream state. I do have a course on dream work. I need to market that more. I'm in the process of moving. Joni Petrie had said if you are a Pisces rising, you will be moving by May of 2024, and I had forgotten that. So that is when I have to be out of here. So, I mean, if you've been following me, my truck is at the garage. It's going to be fixed, and I'm continuing to clean and clear and put things in boxes and plan where I'm going to live so that I can really start saving money in 2024. So until this weekend, probably Saturday or Sunday, please think about what I'm trying to say here about your mind, your energy, and protecting yourself in sleep. All right? Thank you for watching. Take care. Talk to you soon.